we are talking here about the Palestinian people and the rights of the Palestinian people, not of Hamas or any future government or setup.
They voted for Hamas. Hamas are supported by many Palestinian people, and we know that there are loads of Palestinian people, including in Gaza, who never thought to think, hold on a second, there's an electrician coming in who is putting forward some infrastructure below a hospital. There are people who are buying extra food because they're having hostages. At what point did a lot of those people actually raise the flag and say, hold on a second, there's a hostage in this building, or alternatively that Hamas are building tunnels there?
Has the British Empire forgotten that this is the 21st century? Really? Who are they to dictate what's happening to Israel? Did they not realize that Britain has no say of what needs to happen in Israel? And what right do they have to declare Palestinian as a state? Which state? Who's the statehood? Where are they at? This is so absurd and ridiculous. Well, let's watch together this interview and we'll discuss it afterwards. Kindly subscribe to our channel so a little bit of light will definitely push away a lot of darkness.
Welcome, Zoe. As are you, Max. Zoe is Director of IPPR North, the Institute of Public Policy Research. Zoe, let's give you the first word on this. Should the UK recognise a Palestinian state?
I think absolutely yes, there should be a two-state solution for Palestine. Look, when we look back in history and our role in the Balfour Declaration back in 1917, it was done on the basis that nothing shall be done that prejudices the civil and religious rights of the Palestinian people. And so that was baked into how we handled the creation of Israel back in the 20th century, and I think we should be sticking by that. And the only way to secure long-lasting peace, not just a ceasefire now, but long-lasting peace in Israel and Palestine, is to bring forward that two-state solution that the government's proposing.
So 147 countries recognise a Palestinian state at the moment. Will 4 more make any difference, or will they just give succor to Hamas, who have welcomed this?
So I think it absolutely does make a difference what the UK's position is. We still have a very strong voice on the international stage, and of course us being part of NATO and other groupings means that we do have considerable influence. So it will mean a lot when the government moves to do this later this month.
Where is Palestine?
In the Middle East.
Yeah, where is it though? What's the capital? Who's the leader?
Well, okay, you're referencing Hamas now. And
I'm not referencing. I'm saying. I'm simply asking you.
You're referencing Hamas now.
If you want to talk about, if you want to recognise a Palestinian state, where is Palestine? Who's the leader and where's the capital?
Okay, so we have Gaza, the Gaza Strip, and we have the West Bank. Those are the two parts of recognised where Palestinian people live.
The West Bank is a disputed territory. I mean, Israel has for Zone A in the West Bank, Israel has security responsibility and administrative control.
There's a responsibility that the Palestinian people have a right to stay.
Okay, you may well believe that.
Palestine.
You may well believe that, but the practicalities of a Palestinian state are not there. So again, I ask you, where is it? Who's the leader and where's the capital?
So at the moment, of course, you're referencing Hamas, which has been designated a terrorist organisation.
Do you think they're terrorists?
We are talking here about the Palestinian people and the rights of the Palestinian people, not of Hamas or any future government or setup.
They voted for Hamas. Hamas are supported by many Palestinian people, and we know that there are loads of Palestinian people, including in Gaza, who never thought to think, hold on a second, there's an electrician coming in who is putting forward some infrastructure below a hospital. There are people who are buying extra food because they're having hostages. At what point did a lot of those people actually raise the flag and say, hold on a second, there's a hostage in this building, or alternatively that Hamas are building tunnels there? The thing that happens, coming from Northern Ireland, I know the terrorists can be supported when they swim in the sea of people who support them. And I'm not saying every single Palestinian supports Hamas. I'm not saying every single person in Gaza supports Hamas. There are innocent civilians there. Many of them have died. I don't want that to happen at all. I don't want a single innocent civilian to die.
Over 60,000 have died.
Those are Hamas figures. Those are Hamas figures, and you're believing that and you're swallowing that, Zoe.
I think that's actually UN that has.
No, what happened? No, it's not. No, it's not. That's incorrect. What happens is Hamas tells them, and the UN put it out and say it's true, and it's not. And the UN have a lot to answer for, including an UNRWA in those schools where they're indoctrinating children.
Look, I think you and I might disagree on the absolute figure, but we're talking of thousands of casualties, okay? This is people dying as the direct impact of military action in Gaza. And you've said yourself, look, that the Palestinian people cannot be held to account for the actions of Hamas. So I think we have to be really careful here. The whole point of the two-state solution is to protect Palestinian people, nothing to do with Hamas, actually. So I think Hamas being drawn into it, and by implication, the Palestinian people, I think is totally wrong.
Surely it's very embarrassing for Keir Starmer to be rewarded and to be said to Hamas that this is something that they welcome.
Well, actually, neither Netanyahu nor Hamas, they've shifted their position on whether actually they accept a two-state solution. This is the international community now, including hopefully the UK.
What about the Israeli people? What about the Palestinian people? I mean, the Israeli people do not want a two-state solution. Hamas don't want a two-state solution. They want a one-state solution, don't they, Max? They want a one-state solution that doesn't involve Israel. That's in their charter.
No, of course it is. And I think, look, it is an impossibility, it's a two-state solution. I mean, we're talking about 7 million Jews and 7 million Palestinians in one particular area. And history, as Zoe's pointed out, it isn't bright. When Israel gave away parts of South Lebanon, all that happened was Hezbollah started increasing their attacks. My concern is you've got Keir Starmer trying to be this international hero, when actually in his own country, figures came out the other day. We've lost 127,000 jobs. We have a budget which they can't even put together because we have a £50 billion black hole. And since January of this year, 31,000 men have illegally broken into our country. So I'm sure there are noble reasons on both sides of the argument, but this is an impossibility. It will only lead not to peace, but I think to greater divisions. And again, I think you're right. Although the UK used to be a superpower, I think at the moment, with the leadership that we have, we're not seen as that anymore. I think we are on the side of terrorists if we pursue this.
My colleague Mark Dolan interviewed Dale Vince, the ecotricity billionaire who supports Labour. He's given donations to them and other parties as well. Let's just have a look at that interview. It happened about 45 minutes ago, and in terms of what Dale Vince actually said.
What we do for Israel is we give them legitimacy by allowing them into these high-profile competitions as if they're a normal state, when in fact they're a terrorist state. They're beyond any control. Even the US can't control them any longer. They attack whoever they want. They bombed Qatar last week. Actually they bombed the team from Hamas that are negotiating peace with Israel. That's how much they don't want peace.
Dale Vince was also asked on a number of occasions whether he wanted Hamas to not be part of a future Gaza. I don't think he gave a clear answer on that. I mean, Israel bombed Qatar because they were bombing Hamas, the Hamas leadership, Max. They weren't bombing civilians in Qatar. They weren't bombing a shopping centre. They weren't bombing a school. They were bombing and trying to get rid of Hamas terrorists in Qatar who have been given succour by Qatar and shelter as well.
No, I completely agree. I think it's disgusting for Dale Vince to claim that Israel is a terrorist
state.
I mean, that's disgusting. I mean, what actually we've seen recently, I think, in the last few months, you've got those who are complaining on one side because actually effectively their side is losing the war. Hamas are terrorists. Anyone who's supporting them should be deeply ashamed of themselves. And again, this idea of a two-state solution, we're asking essentially for regime change. Who will take over that regime, Peter? It will be Hamas. These people are not good. Their views on women and homosexuals is disgusting. It's very worrying. And those on the far left, people like Dale Vince, should hang their heads in shame.
Zoe, you want there to be a Palestinian state. You want there to be a two-state solution. If there was a Palestinian state, would you hold elections?
I mean, that would be the inevitable next step.
What happens if Hamas win those elections?
I mean, look, it's up to Palestinians to then decide who's their government.
So obviously, they could decide if Hamas are the governors of a Palestinian state. So what you're asking, and what many in the international community are asking for, is Israel to say, right, you give some level of independence to the Gaza Strip for 20 years. Instead of building, a really good place and a really nice place to live, instead what they did was they attacked on the 7th of October and took a lot of that money to build a network of tunnels which is bigger than the underground in London, then attacked. So what many people are saying, including you to a degree, Zoe, and please tell me I'm wrong, is a Palestinian state which may, let's say it has the West Bank, let's say it has the Golan Heights, let's say it has East Jerusalem, let's say it has Gaza. It may not have all of those, but let's say it has some of those. And in theory, Hamas could be in control.
In theory, yes.
But what if they are?
But look, at the end of the day, we also know that the atrocities that happened on the 7th of October were, led by Hamas, and what has happened to Palestine since has been in consequence of that, as per Israel's actions. So I do think, the Palestinians may regard Hamas differently as a result now, but here we are where
but
we
we
are.
don't know that.
And Hamas themselves has said, had they known the response of Israel, they wouldn't have done what they said.
Oh,
which
come
obviously,
on. I mean, that's
No,
absurd.
no,
That's
no,
absurd,
hang on,
Zoe.
hang
They're
on.
always going to retaliate.
They're always going to retaliate, but what I'm saying is that now the Palestinian people can see what happened as a result of Hamas's actions, the devastating attack on the 7th of October.
Where is the evidence?
They might then decide to choose differently.
Well, they might, but where is the...
That's their as a state. We don't interfere in other states' elections.
But we do. But we certainly interfere in terms of how other states are run. We've done that on numerous occasions. The point is, Zoe, that if you have a Palestinian state, and if people vote for Hamas, which you want them, which you...
No, don't put words in my mouth.
Sorry, what I'm saying is you want there to be, apologies for that.
Yeah.
Oh, you want there to be elections, and that's fine.
Yes.
But the likelihood is that a body that is totally hostile to Israel, that may actually be a terrorist organisation in Hamas, may be part of that. Now, the international community says they don't want Hamas to be any part of that. But what if the Palestinian people do? What if they have the autonomy and do that?
Well, look, I can't speak for the Palestinian people. Obviously, as I say, in response to what has been happening in Palestine over the last months and years, they may take now a different view to what was taken previously, and I would hope that they did. So,
but we don't know that for sure, do we, Max?
We can't guarantee, of course, we can't guarantee any sort of election outcome.
Okay, we don't know that for sure, Max, do we?
But then that's the problem with it. We talk about hypotheticals, granted, but if we know, for example, which I think you're right, Peter, it's likely that if we do have fair and free elections, they will vote in Hamas. These are beyond bad faith actors. They not only hate Israel, they hate the West. They hate the United Kingdom. This is my deep confusion with those who are supporting a two-state solution, is that fundamentally you are encouraging, in one way or another, the election of those who hate our country, they hate our values, they hate our sense of democracy. And look, if you look at what our interventions in the past in the Middle East, we haven't got a good track record.
Okay.
So, we've got to be very careful how we go about this, but Starmer is wrong, and it's just absolutely appalling.
Fundamentally, this is about the Palestinian people and protecting them at this stage, and that's what I'm totally focused on.
Okay, and just to be absolutely clear, apologies I wasn't totally clear in my words, Zoe has, from the outset, called Hamas terrorists. That's not something Dale Vince did particularly clearly in any way, and we will be talking more about this. What do you think? 0344 499 1000.
There's an expression that we say, been there, done that. Been there, done that. 5 times. How many times have we given them an opportunity to be able to have a Palestinian state? Well, most recently was in 2005, just 20 years ago, on August 15, when Israel was expelled. The expulsion of Gaza. Every single Israeli that was living there had to leave Gaza. Not one Israeli or Jew was left in Gaza. Not only that, all their synagogues had to be taken down, the cemeteries had to be taken down, and the bodies were exhumed. We couldn't leave anything behind. We left behind beautiful neighborhoods, we left behind beautiful factories, greenhouses. Such a great opportunity to be able to build something for themselves. These Palestinians are not Palestinians, they're Jordanians. We know that. Look at the history. The whole name Palestinian is a fabrication. But either way, they are human beings, and they deserve to live in peace. They deserve to have freedom. Excuse me, if they choose so. But they have proven time in and time again that they would rather live under the jihadist extremist death cult than living as free people. There's absolutely nothing we can do about that. Unless there's a radical change of mind in education, of the mindset of the leaders, then this is just going to perpetuate itself over and over again. As long as their mission in life is being a death cult and wanting annihilation of Jews, Israelis, all Westerners, as long as they keep the caliphate and the fatwa and any other of their jihadist extremist goals to eradicate Jews from the world and eradicate Israel off the map, there's no way there's ever going to be peace with them. What do you do in a situation like this? Sadly, many of us would have rather October 8 have been the solution. This would have been the perfect time, October 8. The wound was still very fresh, and no one has forgotten what happened on October 7. October 8 should have been the day that we should have just exterminated all the terrorists and all the evil and all the Hamas, just been done with it. Sadly, the hostages would have languished with them, God forbid. So we were in a total conundrum. We were in a total situation that we wanted to bring back the 200 hostages. We couldn't go in with the blitz like England did in Berlin, or like what America did in Japan, like any other country does in times like this. Because we felt and cared about our hostages that these savage barbarians, Hamas, did to us on October 7. The world needs to remember that fresh memory. You need to remember the punch in the gut, what it felt like on October 7 when you heard the news, how they breached on a beautiful Saturday morning and totally massacred, raped, burnt, killed, beheaded, decapitated, beautiful, innocent, 1,200. You know how much 1,200 is? 1,200 beautiful citizens in broad daylight, at their homes, in the parks, in the synagogues, wherever they were. And then they went to the music festival, killed all these young, beautiful, beautiful souls who were just dancing for peace, and took them hostage. Has the world forgotten that? We cannot forget that. And now you want to reward them with Palestinian statehood? Where's your mind gone, Mr. Prime Minister of England? Have you forgot the British mandate is long gone? You have no say and no right to say what Israel does or doesn't do, or to declare who's a Palestinian state or not. I hope the world realizes that he's just making a huge fool of himself and of England, that this is just reckless, it's just emboldening and rewarding Hamas for what it has done October 7. If God forbid this would have happened to England, I don't think England wouldn't be doing this to their enemies. Let's pray, and we hope that we all come to our senses, and this so-called Palestinian statehood is just rhetoric, because nothing good is going to come out of it. Let's pray to God that we finally see an end to this war, bring the hostages home alive, and even their bodies, let's bring them home. Let's end the war. That's where the pressure needs to be. And then we can begin talking about rebuilding Gaza and hopefully reforming the way Gazans are being educated, and begin talking to them more about life and love than death and hate. God bless you. God loves you.